should be able to turn it myself. I should be able to select the settings.
We'll get better.
All right. So let's check out your data file. Okay, WSB example code, and we'll call this OK. So I'm going to pick the same file name, and I'm going to see if it actually picks the next file name, or if it actually writes over my previous data. Because if you were trying to collect a lot of data, you would not want that to happen, obviously. But sometimes there are a lot of settings in LabVIEW, and you need to test each one, because sometimes what you think it's going to do is it doesn't do that. Okay, so let's say OK, and we're going to run our program for a minute, and I'm just collecting data off of whatever random fluctuations are happening on my DAC card right now. You guys should turn up the voltage and turn it back down again. All right, so I'm going to hit stop, and now I'm going to open this up again, and so now it looks like I have, oh, okay, so what it did was, this is interesting. Okay, so I put the date on the end, and so the next file, it says, oh, obviously it's 2020, because the previous one was 2019. So, yeah, it just added to the next file. So I think for this situation, what we need to do then is just say test voltage, and then put a dash there at the end and say file 1. You did what?
I did underscore 1.
Okay, and then it did 2. Okay. I like to put the date in there, but, whatever. Okay. So let's take a look at this file, and let's see if it's less massive than our first one. It is quite a bit shorter than the other one. Let's open the first file up, okay, and let's see how long that one is. Okay, so this one the first one was much bigger. Okay, so you're gonna have to make a call. Is it useful to collect all of that data? Okay, probably not. But so we can actually turn this down. So let's go into our DAC assistant, and we're going to adjust our samples to read. Okay, so we'll say our hertz, our sample rates. We'll say 2 hertz, right? But okay, so if I have 10 samples to read, and my rate is 2 hertz, how long will it take before it goes through that loop, before it finishes that process?
2 per second. 2 per second. Right?
Yeah, it'll be 5 seconds. Okay, so I have 10 samples to read. I'm taking two data points per second. So it's going to take a while. Okay, we'll say samples to read. We'll do 2. So it'll basically be every second it's going to update. Okay, let me show you what happens to your program if you say I'm going to pick 20 here. Okay, and then I'm going to go to my front panel. Okay, I'm going to run the program here, and it's going to go for a while. I'm going to hit stop, and now my program's not doing anything. Why isn't it doing anything?
You didn't have time to finish.
Oh, and it didn't like that. Yeah, what?
So I was actually going to ask, is the samples to read not a maximum number of samples that it stops at?
So the samples to read are basically the number of samples it reads every iteration through the loop.
Okay.
So every time, huh?
That's why it's a while.
Yeah, so every iteration through the while loop, it will read however many samples you tell it to read every time it goes through the while loop. Now, it gave me some errors. So it says, some or all of the samples you requested have not yet been acquired. To wait for the samples to become available, use a longer read timeout and read later in your program. So, Yes, it does. Sometimes it will give you an error message, and there'll be a little description of what LabVIEW thinks went wrong, right? And so you should, of course, read it, but a lot of times it's not going to help you very much, or LabVIEW might not actually know. It'll give you some cryptic message, like it'll say, I had one, it was like, communication error with HX538775529, and then it gives you some just crazy description, and you're like, what? So if it's really easy, sometimes LabVIEW can tell you. Other times you'll have to go online, and usually it gives you some error message, and it will have a number. What's great is you can actually go to the National Instruments website, and you can say, well, what does this error mean? That doesn't always necessarily help you. Then might have to go through each piece of equipment and start testing it piece by piece. So it's a process, you know. It's all about the journey. So we did something wrong, so I'm going to hit continue. Okay, so it seems to have maybe recovered, and I'm going to pick, let's say okay, and let's see what it actually saved there. Okay, so we got, now we have 2021, and it looks like it did get some data in there. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Looks like I have 20 data points. Okay, so it actually collected the data, and it did what I think it did. So that's good. Okay, so let's close our data file here, and it gave me another error. It looks like, okay, so it stopped running. But to correct that, let's turn our rate up here to 10, and we're going to do samples to read 10, and then we will hit OK. Okay, so I'm going to go, I'll click on that, it'll pick it, and then I'll hit stop, and I didn't get any error messages. Okay, so I was having too many data points, and the rate was too slow. So that was the fix for that problem. So, alright, so that's it for today. Next time, we'll start doing the current measurements. Then, we're going to do current measurements and voltage measurements. We're going to save it, and we're also going to start outputting a voltage. So we will actually have the program output a voltage. We'll build our circuit with the diode, and then we'll take it from there.
LabVIEW creates, or with LabVIEW is able to export data sets. It's not able. Is it able to, like, you know how for some programs, like for instance MATLAB,